Beware, you have found yourself in a land of cutthroats, revolutionaries, half-breeds, and exiles. You are most welcome. Dockmaster in Riverbane. The islands of Durath and Hamville are separated by Ananil, a narrow strip of navigable water. During the time of the Nandrian Empire, they were thought to be a single island called Heim by those on the mainland. Now Heim refers to the region, both geographically and culturally. However, some on those islands may object to being lumped together. For centuries, Hamville and the southern part of Durath were favored targets of dwarven raiders. The raids from different territories left their own mark, as well as its reputation as being a frontier land at the edge of the world attracted many, some seeking a new life free from their troubles, some looking to simply be forgotten, some looking to help those in need, and others looking to exploit those in need. Several petty kingdoms would rise and fall in the early years of Heimish history. On the southwestern half of Durath, eventually, Theros the Great would unite the kingdoms of Uthart, Hygel, and Rothia with his own Woxus in 1811 AC through a series of military campaigns. That while he rarely won, was able to recover repeatedly from and exhaust his enemies. The story of his grandparents fleeing the persecution of tieflings on the continent and their rise to power, along with his tenacity and humility when dealing with his subjects and enemies alike, have made him a key figure in the origin story of Heim. The sea kings and queens of Wirith were able to resist Woxus and take up the raiding that had largely been abandoned by the dwarves at this point on Hamville and the Scion lords there, as well as the fledgling kingdom of Befet in northwestern Durath and the principality of Chowlahor on the north-central coast. Woxus' conquest of Chowlahor in 1916 AC would bring the raids in that area to an end, but the Chowlahor people, having fought for so long against the Sea Kings, were not ready to surrender to the Woxus. In 2193 AC, they rebelled, and while the army was putting down this rebellion in the north, Wirith forces marched north and won a series of spectacular victories and conquered Woxus. Unable to continue the conquest, they left Chowlahor re-established itself as a principality. A century later, in 2301, the Woxus king, as now they resembled their fallen foes more than the Wirith ancestors, invaded Hamville and conquered the Phascion. The lands of the Phascion having been undeveloped and seen as a better target for raiding or extracting tribute than ruling directly, until an overly ambitious and sadistic monarch, King Belaheim, decided that they would do better as an official territory. 2466 AC saw the Elvish invasion. While Ashuna did not invade, many nobles, angered by the stricter control started by King Tregelor Roquin, united under a cousin of the royal family, Malachimor Lorgwin, and decided that they would be better off in Heim than trying to overthrow the royal family. They conquered Woxus and Wirith, except for a small marshy bit of territory on the east side of Ananil, where a distant relative of the old dynasty, Duchess Eucrea, formed the Dukedom of Velig. The Phascion people of Hamville quickly overthrew their overlords who were bereft of their power base, but due to the country never being developed, its rulers quickly fell back into regional lords, and while not quite as fractured as before, their before their conquest, they still were far from unified. An increasingly despotic monarch, Queen Haran, faced a rebellion of nobles in 2523, and in 2525 signed the Treaty of Galmir to limit the power of the monarch and begin, however unintentionally, the establishment of individual rights. In 2330, the queen tried to renege on her commitments and was deposed by their heir, Prince Urxion, with the help of nobility. Unfortunately for the nobles, King Urxion limited their power as well in favor of individual rights for the people. In 2543, the Queen of Befet died without any heirs, and the kingdom fell into civil war. By 2601, none of the original claimants or their heirs were left alive, and the remaining nobles convened a council to determine who would lead them. For 2 more years, stalemate would continue both in the council chambers and with the war in the countryside, until they decided to invite King Salidor of Woxus to come establish order and help them choose a leader. Salidor was able to quickly establish order, but never named a successor to the Befet throne. Instead, continued to rule in the name of the council, with or without their permission, with his successor, King Phyrexian, officially taking the role on for themselves and uniting the kingdoms. In 2699 would see the attempted conquest of Veleg quickly thwarted by the Veleg opening their dikes and flooding the land. 2747 brought the island of Hamville into the Greater Kingdom through a brutal invasion under King Rayfair. This time, however, the conquerors not only extracted the wealth of the land, but built it back up as well, although in a way that favored the new conquerors. In 2751, the Duke of Veleg, Aris, instituted a series of reforms with the intention of bringing more equity to his people, some of whom were the poorest on the continent, while a select few were among the wealthiest. In 2753, King Salisan of Woxus pushed his claim on the Dukedom of Veleg through dubious legal documents, along with bribes and promises to the wealthy who were bearing the brunt of the reforms. The Duke was exiled and the king named Duke Protector. The people resisted this change, but were quickly put down. In 2848, Princess Sarissa, the heir of Woxus, and the Princess Torkenholm of Chalahor united the 2 kingdoms under a single throne with their marriage. Now the rulers who sit on the throne in Riverbane are officially known as the monarch of Woxus and Befet, Prince or Princess of Chalahor, Sea King or Queen of Wirith, Lord of the Phasion, and Duke Protector of the Veleg, but are more commonly referred to simply as the monarch of Heim. While seemingly unified, there are still underlying tensions that flare up now and again. At the same time, the general unity has led Heim to becoming increasingly prosperous. This has led the nations on the mainland to take note of it when previously it had been ignored. Following the example of overseas colonies of Terra de los Justos, Heim has started its own on Visserat, as well as assuming an increasing role in the colonies and trading posts that were largely abandoned when Bosik was absorbed into the Justos Empire. Of course, the slow treasure-laden ships of the Justos coming back from their colonies in the southern hemisphere are too tempting of a target to ignore. While not looking for direct confrontation with the Justos, Heim does not miss an opportunity to undermine their much more powerful rivals at every opportunity.